So obviously a key part of starting a business and building out a brand framework for what you're actually looking to build for an Amazon brand is going to be the name. And so the purpose of this video is really going to be to review the process and frameworks that you can leverage and that I like personally for naming a brand. Now remember, the context of your customer archetype really matters here. So really want to be putting yourself, in this case of the golf archetype, into Mark's shoes. You've got to really empathize with Mark, pretend that you are Mark searching for golf related products on Amazon, and think about the kind of naming conventions that will really draw him in, that will stand out versus what else is on the page when he's searching. So whenever you're thinking about the elements of a brand, be it the visuals, the aesthetic, the logo, the name, whatever it is, you've really got to kind of draw from that experience of your customer archetype and be thinking about the things that will have an impact on him. So a couple frameworks that I really like to keep in mind when naming brands. One, it's got to be relevant to the category. So it's got to have some kind of a niche application that at least aligns with what it is that you're selling. I think it's obviously got to align well with the archetype and kind of fit what they're looking for. Here's an important point. It's got to be niche. So that's kind of where it's relevant to the category and aligns with the archetype, but it's got to be broad enough for expansion, right? So in the case of a golf brand, let's say that my first product's going to be a golf bag. I don't want to name something golf bag because it's possible that I want to get beyond the category or subcategory of golf bags and other stuff that's for the archetype. So we maybe want to have it oriented around golfers, but we don't want to pin it down to a specific product type or subcategory that's going to pigeonhole us from expansion down the line. And then finally, like anything, there's always these legal traps that we've got to be aware of. We absolutely want to make sure that we've got a shot at actually trademarking this product in the marketplace that we're looking to kind of target. So in the US, that's going to be the USTPO kind of trademark and patent office. So ways that you can kind of look at trademarking to overcome it if it looks like it's got some risk. You can look at misspellings, and you can also look at the category specific kind of trademark. So even if the name that you're going for is trademark, but if it's not in the kind of product category type that you're looking at, you can still get away with trademarking it. But speaking from experience where I've actually had to change a brand name on Amazon after the fact, it is not easy to do. So we want to try to clear the risk as much as possible by doing a thorough trademark assessment before we kind of land on a name, because it's super important to get that trademark, to get brand registry, and to protect the brand for the kind of products that you're looking to sell. I'll plug in some resources on some options that I've personally used and that I personally trust in terms of getting this trademark assessment done. But in this presentation, we will go over some of the surface level analysis that we can do when we're coming up with brand names from a brainstorming standpoint. So how do we come up with inspiration for potential brand ideas and to kind of cultivate the brainstorm? We're going to get into a couple of them now. The first thing I like to do is just to really look at iconic brands or brands that I think are cool in the specific archetype I'm looking at. So in the golf space, one of the most iconic premium brands is Titleist. They primarily make really high-end golf clubs. A lot of pros, a lot of casual amateur golfers really respect Titleist as kind of a namestay brand. This is kind of like one of the Nikes of golf clubs. And you can kind of see the aesthetic of their brand. It's got kind of a cool typeface, kind of clean, really kind of high end. So Titleist is one that I'm kind of thinking in mind as I'm kind of sculpting my own brand. Another one that's a little bit more D2C, but kind of heavily aligned with Titleist, and you can kind of see customer archetype maybe fits in with what we're doing, is something called Sunday Golf. So they make kind of golf bags and other things that are really popular on Instagram. So this is an aesthetic that I've kind of been paying attention to. Getting a little bit more edgy, there's a really cool brand called Bad Birdie. It's a little bit younger than our customer archetype, so I don't want to quite go here. This is a little bit more, I would say, like, low 20s to low 30s is probably the best bet for this brand archetype. But there's some really cool elements here, right? Like you can see the X's over the I. I like the birdie name. And you can just see like it's got a vibe that's fun. And so I'm kind of drawing some inspiration here. And then there's some non-golf stuff that you can start to get into as well. So on this, I was kind of thinking about this birdie concept. A birdie is basically when you shoot a score one less than what the course par is for that particular hole. So as a golfer, you're striving to get as many birdies as possible. There's a new, actually fast food oriented kind of establishment that came out of Utah called Dirty Bird. And very similar to Bad Birdie, right? It's got these X's. It's kind of got like a cool kind of edgier vibe to it. So I'm even drawing some inspiration as I think about the brand name and the general aesthetic of the brand from non-Amazon stuff. Here's another example of a brand I really like in the DTC space. Again, do a ton of ads on Instagram. They've literally named this like emergency survival kit after a person. It's called Judy. But it's got that really bold, punchy font, one syllable, kind of clean. I like the vibe of this. So I'm kind of taking all this stuff in as I look for inspiration for not only the brand name, but also kind of the general vibe and aesthetic of the brand. Some other things that you can do in terms of generating specific names. A cool site is called relatedwords.org. You can literally type in a niche word for your category or your archetype, and it's going to generate a bunch of different ideas. So you can see golf. Eagle's kind of cool. Eagle's when you're 2 less than par. Bogey is when you're over par, so that might actually be a cool name for a golf brand. Maybe for more of a casual user that's just kind of out to drink and have fun. Maybe not necessarily Mark, who's really looking for performance, but Bogey's a really cool name. As I just kind of run down here, we got Birdie here again, Chip. Let's just see, we've got Double Bogey. That's kind of a cool name. So you get the idea, right? This kind of comes up with related words for your niche that even though you may know, you haven't necessarily put them on paper, and this can help to generate ideas for your brand name. Another couple approaches. One is a site called Squad Help. You can actually run contests to name your brand, so you can kind of set a brief on what you're looking to do with your particular business concept, and then it opens up a contest, and then there's people that can come in and help you come up with ideas for naming your brand. I think this is really helpful if you're a foreign seller where English is your second language. You can use services like this to help generate brand name ideas. And then here's an example of Shopify. You just put in golf into their name generator, and then they've got a whole bunch of names that they kind of generate through this AI type tool. Didn't see any on here that really like blew me away, but you can come up with some unique ideas when you're thinking through using a tool like Shopify. So through all of this behind the scenes, I spent, a couple days. I think the creative process doesn't necessarily need to be like sitting in an office, but I've kind of been stewing on different names and thinking about how I navigate this. And the name I came up with for our particular case study around Mark, this golf archetype, is a brand name called Birdie. So we've done something a little bit unique with it, with throwing in the Y, so it's a misspelling on a common name. It's obviously specific to the category, so if you're a golfer, you'll know exactly what this means, even though it's a misspelling. But it's not pigeonholing us such that we can't expand into other elements of the golf category. So some things here that I really like about this name. It's relevant, it fits the archetype, and it's niche but expandable. So I'm gonna go over to my computer really quick here and go, in this case, because we're looking at the US marketplace, we're going to uspto.gov, which is where you can conduct trademark searches. So if you've got an idea that you're thinking, hey, this might be something, I'm then gonna come into the trademark database, go to the basic word search, and then I'm literally just gonna type in the name that I've got. You can see I've done a couple searches here already. And then anything that's live here is one that you want to double check on. Again, because we've got multiple things here that actually have the name Birdie in it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's taken for golf as a category. So if I look at this first one, just click on it. This one's talking about tweezers, nails, scissors. So this is not an issue at all. That's not going to be anything golf related. There's this Birdie golf social wear. So there's obviously 4 terms here. It's women's clothing, pants, gloves, headwear, hats, etc. So this is going to present some risk. If I just go to Birdie Golf here, this is who it is. So it's literally a female kind of golf brand you can see here. And so there's some risk because they've got this Birdie in it, but they've only got it for this category of clothing, etc. So I think if we just focus on a single name and we weren't targeting anything here in our goods and services, we're probably okay. This other search I just kind of pulled up here, there's Birdie Golf, which does actual irons. But these guys have not trademarked officially their stuff with the USTPO. So there's definitely some risk here from a golf standpoint, but I don't see anything explicitly here that we couldn't potentially navigate. Is there the chance that we get kind of snagged on this? Yes, potentially we do. But I think that for the time being, we should be okay. Then we go to Birdie's bags. Again, this is plastic food storage bags, so that's not necessarily going to align with or collide with us, even if we're doing the travel case. We got Birdie's rotisserie. This is probably going to be, it's going to be like a chicken thing. Not worried about that. This guy's dead here. This is lipstick, not an issue. Dead, dead. This one's live. Entertainment services, not going to be an issue. So that's kind of it. Let's look at a couple of these dead ones just to see. So this was clearly kind of golf related stuff, and it looks like these guys abandoned it. They filed it in 2019. They abandoned it December 3rd, 2020. It's possible because these guys were going after clothing, headwear, stuff like that, that they may have had an issue with this social wear. Again, if I was just going to do anything related to clothes and golf, I would be at danger of being able to get a trademark because of this. And you guys can see here, these guys actually kind of published for opposition this year. Let's look at a couple of the other dead ones just to see if there's any risk. Okay, this is curling irons, nothing related to golf. This is sunglasses, not a concern. These guys are pants, etc. They abandoned it way back in 2009. These are golf covers, etc. And they abandoned it in 2013. And then this is a playing card one. So I think here there's definitely a little bit of risk with Birdie, especially because of this golf social wear. So I'm probably going to want to talk to an attorney and just kind of get an idea what my shots are here. But what we would do if we filed a trademark for Birdie is that we would really make sure that the goods and services that we targeted would not be misaligned with this. The examiner at the USTPO is going to find this brand, and they're probably going to make an explicit request that we never go into this before they would kind of move forward with our trademark. So that's typically what's going to happen here. But I would probably get in touch with an attorney and just kind of see what my shots are and just be at least aware of the risks. Some other things that you can do is you can add secondary words to differentiate. So if I felt like there was a little bit of issue with Birdie, maybe I could add like Birdie gear or Birdie something else. That again is broad enough to expand into multiple categories within golf, but at least gives me a little bit of a differentiator from this Birdie golf social wear. But that's the general approach that you look at with USTPO. If you feel like it's too much risk or you don't want to run the chances of having your mark be changed down the line where you have to change your name on Amazon, go back to the drawing board and find another name that you can leverage and do the same process again. Kind of working through your customer archetype, how unique it is it expandable, and then do your USTPO check or the check for the trademark in whatever country you're looking at selling in. But we're going to roll forward with the name Birdie for now and gives us a basis to create further brand elements for this business.